when you see the differences that the RIA side of the fence has from a benefit standpoint and eliminating the negatives like the surrender charges, surrender fees, it really is, a game changer.
In this episode of Advisor Revelations, learn how one advisor uses registered index-linked annuities and other commission-free solutions to build retirement portfolios and the biggest benefits he sees for using these strategies in the RIA channel today.
Hello and welcome to the Advisor Revelations podcast. Today we're going to be talking commission-free annuities and how these products can benefit certain clients and advisors. More specifically, how firms are using these strategies to help keep clients invested, mitigate sequence of returns risk, and solve for guaranteed income needs. Our guest today is Hobby Barndollar, an investment advisor and CEO at PurePath Wealth Management. Hobby, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you. So we want to remind our listeners that we encourage you to connect with the DPL Consultant team if you have any questions about the strategies and solutions that we may bring up today by going to our website at dplfp.com. Find us on the Meet the Team page to make an appointment. PurePath Wealth has been a DPL member for over a year now. Before we start our discussion, Hobby, just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your firm and what you guys bring to the table.
Sure. I got in the business in 1998. My father started the company. I started doing insurance and then slowly but surely moved into the financial world. And so I kind of grew up in the industry. I remember listening to my dad do radio programs as a kid. And, I followed in his footsteps, went to Mercer University on a soccer scholarship, 4 years, got my MBA with a concentration in finance from Georgia State University. I gained about 100 pounds, so I don't play soccer anymore. But I have a lovely wife, my wife Amy, and 4 kids, 1 daughter and 3 boys. And my father passed away about 2 years ago, which is when we decided to make that transition away from the commission-based business, the broker-dealer world, into the fee-based fiduciary world.
Interesting. So I guess now being able to implement, no load products and solutions, what type of annuities have you been seeing are most beneficial for you and your firm so far?
Yeah, I think it's not so much the different types of annuities, because in the broker-dealer world, we had the same annuities. You had the fixed index annuities, that we still had structured, products, as they're referred to, like RILAs and fixed annuities and variable annuities. I think the biggest thing was learning how inferior those products were to the fee-based side. Then I can kind of get into that more later. But yeah, it's not so much the products, it's the benefits of the products that were really eye-opening for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that's good to hear. Definitely a big difference, especially on caps, buffers. Definitely. So I guess on that note, I know here lately we've been doing a lot of client cases just on the RILA and fixed index annuity side. What's been the catalyst for using those products? Where are you seeing fit in client portfolios overall? And
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I remember going to a national sales meeting for an IMO one time, and I sat down with an insurance company and I said, why don't you lower our commission, give us exclusivity to sell a product, and give all the extra benefits, take our commission, lower it down, and give the extra benefits to the clients. And the insurance company's response was, if we did that, no one would sell our product. And I always thought that was very interesting, because at the end of the day, we're in a position to help our clients, right? It's not so much, as my business partner always said, is I don't want to get rich off of one client. I want to help hundreds of clients. And over time, my salary will increase because I'm doing the right thing. And so I think, when you start looking at, these products and what they have to offer, it is very telling, because when you called me up and started telling me about the products and the surrender charges or lack thereof and the benefits of their products, it was exactly what I've been looking for, for the last, 10, 15 years. So it was really exciting for me to get that phone call and to be educated by you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been an easy relationship. So talk to me too about that transition from the broker dealer side over to fee-based, and what that looked like for you, and where you see insurance fitting in that, and annuities, and where you see it going from there.
Yeah, and I'll start off by just a quick story. So every single time I would give an annuity workshop, I'd always ask clients, because typically clients would come in one of three ways. One, they have no idea what an annuity is. They have no conception of good or bad. The other is a client that had a good experience with annuities and loved the annuity world. But the majority of people have had a bad experience with annuities. And I enlighten it to, we've all bought a car in the past, or most of us have, and you don't drive off the lot and say, man, that was such a bad investment. I really got screwed on that deal. Typically you drive off the lot and it might be a year later or 2 years later, and you realize, maybe I didn't get the best deal. Maybe that guy, sold me on, the bug treatment on the hood. And you realize later on that it was a bad deal. The same thing is true with annuities. You never buy an annuity, and the minute the broker or agent walks out the door, you say, man, that was a horrible investment. Why did I do that? Because then you free look the policy. But in looking at, these annuities out there, a lot of people had bad experiences because they realize it 3, 4, it could be 10 years later when they start to turn on the income and they go, wow, this is not what I signed up for. And, being in the industry for so long, you hear these horror stories. I remember sitting down with a client one time who had a 16-year surrender product that started off in year 1 at 20% a surrender charge. And on top of that, their cap rate, the most they're ever going to make on that product, is 2.5%. And they asked me, like, hey, what can you do for us? And my answer was absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And my heart went out to them. But those are some of the things that, that annuities have had a really bad name for, so I start there and always ask them, what is their vision of what an annuity is? And when they start listing all the negatives of it, you typically get, high commission. Right? That's a typical one. Long surrender periods, high surrender charges. They control the allocation. You can't change the allocation ever. Mm-hmm. The cap rates are really low and they can change the cap rate. So when you get these people that are in that negative box, they can give answers, 15 long. And that's really where, your team and your products eliminate, 99% of those negative comments right off the bat, which is, refreshing in my world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because all those things that you just mentioned there, we've run into in the past, or that's what we're here to really combat, is those long surrender periods. 16 years surrender charge is just unheard of, especially on our platform. 6 or 7 is about as high as it goes, depending on the product. And it's just really what we've come here to combat and really take that out of the product so it actually benefits the client, like you mentioned, going and stripping out those commissions and putting it back into the client's portfolio so that the annuity does what it was intended to do. The annuity's always been there, but it's just repurposing and actually letting it do what we need it to do from a fiduciary mindset, like you mentioned, and what's best for the client.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, Hobby, I'd just like to get a little bit more in depth with you just about the RILA structured products, and then as well as the fixed index annuities and just their benefits and how you see them fitting in clients' portfolio. Okay. Are you seeing people using those RILAs or FIAs as a sequencer return mitigator? Where do you typically, and how do you typically present it to a client?
Yeah. So as a practice, we really take a holistic approach. And so, the days of investing 100% in the stock market, I think clients are realizing, especially clients nearing retirement or in retirement, that that's not a good game plan. If you catch the market on an upswing, it might work out for you. But if you catch it on a downswing like we're on right now, and you're not diversified, it really it can mess up your retirement to the point where you've got to go back to work. And, no one has their the retirement golden years where, oh yeah, I took another job to supplement my income.
Mm-hmm.
And so in looking at our practice, we start off first by doing the risk analysis. And that's where it all starts. And finding out, just from a standpoint of income needs, where they're going to be. And that's where it starts. You have a high net worth client, you might not need an income rider. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times my clients are looking for at least a portion of their portfolio to have guarantees. And that's really what we focus on. And we start there. And so looking at the FIAs, or the fixed index annuities, many of my clients who are in the lower risk category, but want that guaranteed income, it's a perfect fit for them. Mm-hmm. I've got other clients who are younger and they're going to defer that income for a period of years, and they want to get the most growth possible, but still don't have that risk appetite that might come with, say, a variable annuity or being in the stock market. And that's really where you guys have really been a great help, to where I don't have to figure out the best product. I just call you and say, here are my clients' goals. Here's their risk tolerance. And what's the best product that you guys have available out there? Mm-hmm. You might have some clients that, that we're working with Catherine, that she needed liquidity. So she didn't want her money tied up at all, but she also lost her husband. And so the pension that he had from the electric union up north went away. And so she needed guaranteed income. So it was nice to, freshly coming out of the broker dealer world, to see the huge differences in not only the growth potential, but the higher income that you can get from this. And mm-hmm. I know this might be, sound crazy when I say this, but I really believe that, the broker dealer world is going to have to figure this out, because quite frankly, they can't compete from a product standpoint to what's out there on the fee-based side. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. It's phenomenal insight. I kind of want to spend more time just on that last point you said. It really drives home the mission of DPL and what we're here to do. I think combating the old way that annuities have been placed, where they've been professionally sold instead of professionally bought and actually put into a client's portfolio to do what they're intended to do. Mm-hmm. What's, I guess, been the environmental difference for you as far as like where you've come from and where you see this type of mission going forward, as far as commission-free annuities and actually implementing them in clients' plans where you see fit?
The biggest thing for me is what you said. Are you selling a product, or are you trying to do what's best to help your client? And I really believe there's people out there listening that they care first and foremost about putting their client in the best available product that matches their goals and needs. But on the flip side, there's a bunch of people out there who care about one thing and one thing only, and that is, lining their pocketbook first and hoping that that product is the best for their client. And so a lot of the industry, the Reg I, things from a compliance world are really helping facilitate doing the right thing. But on the fiduciary side, legally, you have to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And so when you start to take your client's overall portfolio, and listen, some of my clients, they don't belong in annuities.
Exactly.
They don't need an annuity. It doesn't match their goals. And exactly. I'm not afraid to tell them that. I'll never forget, I got a call from a guy. He's worth $3.5 million. And he was, I think, 82 at the time. And he said, hey, this other guy's telling me what a great annuity this is. And I said, well, Ray, I said, it is a good annuity, but it doesn't meet your needs and goals. Then he goes, well, okay, well, tell me why. So I gave him all these reasons. He ended up still buying the annuity through the other guy. But it was one of those things where I could sleep well at night knowing that I'm giving him the best professional advice that I can. In this environment where you're not getting paid a commission, there's no conflict of interest, really, where I can sell an annuity, I can not sell an annuity. It's not going to change what I get each and every year, but there's more of an education process behind it to where I can tell the client the pros and cons of the investment, why I think it's a good fit. But at the end of the day, they can be empowered to make the right decision for themselves because they know their risk tolerance, they know their goals. And so if I take enough time and educate them, then really it's them making the decision, not me pushing, my thought process on them.
Yeah. Yeah, that way you can give them a multitude of options and let them decide what's best for them because at the end of the day, they know themselves best.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that point too, I wanted to just ask, this one last question. What do you think holds advisors or clients back from just adapting to this model? Is it just pure lack of education? I know you just mentioned that, or what's your thought?
That's a great question. And I don't know the full answer to it. I can kind of give you my assumption. So we were in the broker-dealer world for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so to jump ship over to the RIA side of the fence without starving to death, it took a while. So our goal was to do it, in 3 years. And I think we ended up doing it in 7 years. So it does take a while. But then there is, the lack of education from the broker-dealer world or just agents in general to really understand how this could change a client's life. I mean, an extra 3, when I'm looking at cap rates where on the RIA side of the fence, the fiduciary world, cap rates are, north of, 18%, north of 25% on the 10-year buffer, where you're going to, products on the commission-based side in the broker-dealer world that, are 10% annually. I mean, that's a huge jump. Mm-hmm. But 10% growth to over 25%. I mean, I don't want to say life-changing, but if the market goes up 30% and you're capped out at 25% versus 10%, that could really change somebody's life. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, the surrender charges, if any, are a lot less, are a lot shorter. Just all the way around, I think in the next 10 years, potentially, the broker-dealer world could be obsolete or they're going to have to change something in the way they do business.
I like it. So, Hobby, before coming to DPL and actually breaking away and being a fee-only advisor, I guess, what were you doing for lifetime income for a client whenever they were wanting to solve for that? That was a big need for them. What were you doing before you found DPL?
Yeah, so I would, on the variable annuity side, I would call, all 8 companies and find out what had the best product. They all have their little niches. If you're going to look for deferred income for 10 years, company A might be the best. If you're going to take immediate in, company B might be the best. And if you're going to take in 1 year, company C. So I was doing the legwork on that and, calling every variable annuity company that my broker dealer had a selling agreement with, where now I just call Scott and say, hey, this is what my client's needs are. What's the best product out there? Can you send me an illustration? It becomes, very streamlined. On the FIA side, I was using an IMO, and they had a back office that would kind of do the due diligence on that. You tell them what you're looking for, and they'd give you a breakdown, software driven, which I'm sure you guys have as well. But really the biggest thing is the benefits. And I've never had, and I still work with IMOs, but I've never had a IMO that has given me a better product than what you guys have to offer. So on that note, would you feel like you're more empowered to have those conversations with clients in those client meetings? Are clients more receptive to hearing what you have to say when you tell them that story? It was more so because, let's face it, annuities can be confusing. Yes. Right? Especially when you start talking about a structured annuity and what that means. And, I learned very early on the more information you give them, the more confused they can be, right? So it's a fine line of trying to educate the client without confusing the client, because a confused client typically says no. But it's more so knowing as a fiduciary that you want to put the client's, needs ahead of your own, that that this is the best product out there for the client. And I think the more people that move over to the RIA side, the more people that you talk to, there's no denying. You can take a 1%, a 2% difference in a portfolio over 30 years, and you can run the graph and it will change somebody's life. Well, now you're talking about 15%. It is unbelievable that this world that you're in doesn't get more attention. And I don't know the reason why. I don't know why that is. I imagine slowly but surely it becomes a competitive advantage for me. It really is. So when you're sitting in front of a client and you can show them the differences and able to tell them what it looks like, not over a 1 year period of time, right? But over 20 years, 30 years, it really, like I said, becomes a competitive advantage for me over your traditional broker dealer, even your traditional insurance agents that are only doing, commission-based products.
Have you run up against that before where you've got a client that's being pitched some sort of annuity where they went to a steak dinner or what have you, and you're able to show them the different options? How's that look?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of education because, like I said, I've had someone say to me one time, well, I'm guaranteed 2%. This is the worst I'm ever going to get, but I can get 36% a year because I'm in a monthly cap product. And I say, well, those products, yes, if they do 2% each and every month and they cap them off, you can make 24 to 36% depending on the cap rate on the monthly cap. I go, but what happens on the downside? What do you mean? Well, do they cap the downside protection? They go, oh, I can't lose any money on the downside. In fact, and this is where they start to get confused, I'm guaranteed to make 2%. And I said, well, not if you're not in that bucket, first of all. Second of all, yes, they will reset your account on the annual anniversary, but they don't lock in or eliminate the downside on a monthly basis. That just gets reset. So I give the example, if you're up 3% for February and up 3% for March, and then April, you're down 10%, what happened to all your gains? Oh, I'm still up 6%. I said, absolutely not. So it takes a little while. Some people, to be honest, never get it. Then some people want to believe that pie in the sky. But typically the people that don't understand it, years later when they see their statement, like I had a guy in that monthly cap to cap, it was in 2009. And he didn't make any money in 2009. 2009 was a great year in the stock market. And so we called the company, and the company on a recorded line said, well, 2009 was a bad year in the stock market. And I just said, ma'am, I don't want to embarrass you, but the stock market was over 20%. And my client here, a product that I never sold him, didn't make anything. Can you explain that? And I was doing it more to educate the client, not embarrass the customer service person. But he finally got it. And sometimes it requires calling the company and asking them questions and having them tell you on a recorded line, yeah, this product is a bad product. They don't say it's a bad product, but by the answers that, to your questions, the client realizes that it's bad.
You really get the gist that it's not the best fit. Because in that scenario, like a bull market would be great if it was 100% bull market every single month on a monthly cap.
Oh, right.
That's best case scenario. So talk to me too about just like the past bull run market that we've had versus now, especially with COVID and interest rates rising, how that bull market really prepped advisors to maybe not be set up in the best portfolio design now that the market's not doing what it has done for the past 13 years.
Yeah. When I give my workshops, I talk about 2008, right?
Yep.
And I've had many people come up to me and goes, why do you keep on talking about 2008? That was 10 years ago. And I said, well, I talk about 2008 because that was the pain that I saw people go through. I had a guy came to me and he goes, Hobby, I want you to look at my portfolio. I'm 100% in the stock market, had over $1 million in his 401k that he rolled into an IRA, and his portfolio was down over 50%. And his expenses went up, they didn't go down. And so he asked me, what I should do. And I was, in my 30s at the time. And I told him, I said, it's tough. You're telling a 65-year-old, man who spent his entire life saving. And my recommendation was to have him go back to work. And to his credit, he did. And we restructured his entire portfolio and had some guarantees in there through the annuity world. I wish I had some fee-based annuities at the time that I dealt with, but they didn't exist, or at least I didn't know they existed. And, restructured his whole portfolio. So when you start looking at the bull market that we've had, I mean, from millennials on, they say Americans have very short-term memories. They forget the pain. Well, they're in a market right now where they feel the pain again. And consumer sentiment is going down. And these millennials who, have always put their money in any stock they want and made money, it really is, eye-opening to them. And I think I hate to say it's a good thing, but we don't live in a world where there's never a chance of risk, right? So when risk comes in, I love talking to my clients now because they ask me, how are we doing? So we're doing great. We diversified your portfolio. We added guarantees, through the annuity portion. And so I was looking at a statement today where the S&P showed a 20% loss, for the year, and she didn't lose anything. In fact, her income actually went up because she's in deferral. And when you get to tell a client that, when they're, telling their fellow employees what's going on in their portfolio, it's an awesome feeling. It really is to know that you put together a plan just for a time like this. And now they're seeing it to fruition, where all the other people that are still heavily in the stock market are looking for answers. Did that make sense? A little long-winded, but they're right.
Yeah. Because it's funny. That's not the response I hear often. I, sometimes have a few advisors that aren't excited to talk to their clients. It's funny when I'm trying to educate, I'm talking to an advisor and I'm asking what client is making you the most angry at this point, who's calling you the most, because some advisors aren't happy to talk to their clients. So that's a unique perspective. Now that you have those guarantees in there, that you're excited to talk to a client. That's a different and unique perspective. So it's cool to hear.
Yeah. And let me kind of talk about the products that are out there in a sense of, like, right now, it's a very volatile time, right? We can all agree with that. The last month is almost somewhat flat, but, year to date, we're down over 20%. And so the question is, where's the bottom, right? Everyone wants to know, where's the bottom? Where's the bottom? Where's the bottom? Well, the next question is, if we hit the bottom, typically that first year, the first bull market that we hit is typically a high growth market. So I ask my clients, what do you think the stock market's going to do if it starts to turn around and go back up? Well, a lot of them say, I don't know, maybe 10%, 15%, but I don't want to get out of the stock market. And I said, no, I get it. But why not add layers of protection? And if you really believe it's only going to go up 15, 10, even 20%, you can still capture all of that upside,
right?
But still protect 10 to 15% on the downside. It just makes too much sense. And I've never had a client that says, well, I don't want to not have anything on the downside. Like, people want, the more you can get protection on the downside, the better. Right. I've never had anyone come to me and say, I think we're going to do 25% the next year. Now, could it happen? Sure. But a lot of times managing clients' expectations and trying to educate them, that's half the battle. So if they get all of their upside that they think they're going to get, and then some, if the market does 40% and you only get 25, 30%, you're not going to have any clients that are upset with you.
Right. Yeah. So Love to hear you expand on that more too. Are there any client specific scenarios that you've had or you've run into in the past couple months where you're implementing those types of products? What's that been looking like for you?
Camille was up in Central Florida, north of me. She doesn't want to lose any money whatsoever. That was her main goal, but she doesn't want to get stuck at like a 3% cap. So we were able to put her, she doesn't need the income. She has really good income, retired nurse, but she was able to, put her money, get much higher cap rates than you ever could in the FIA traditional world. So she was happy. I mean, and she was like, how come you haven't offered these to me before? I said, well, I was in the commission world before. Didn't know they existed. So that's one. But then also another younger client of mine, Steve, he's in his, 40s, and they understand they want stock market exposure, but they don't want stock market exposure with 100% risk, because obviously what's happened in the last year, they've seen that. So we're able to give them, it was, I want to say at the time, 19% upside that they're going to get. So anything, between 0 and 19%, they're going to keep. If it goes above 19%, they're only going to keep 19%, but they don't care. They're happy with that. And then they also have the downside protection that the stock market fell 10%. They don't lose any money. So it's a really good fit for them. But yeah, for me, it just depends on the client and what their goals and needs are. And then I call you, Scott. You kind of find me the best product out there. So
it's my specialty. So when you, I guess, were learning just more about DPL and the products that we have, were there any new products that you kind of discovered that could provide new benefits to your clients that we have? Or is there anything in an ideal world that maybe we should add to a product? What's been the learning curve there?
That could be an hour question right there. The new products. So I'd love to get involved with some new products with you guys that I think would fit. But I would tell you, not so much. I mean, we had done some structured products in the broker-dealer world where a lot of people, a lot of financial planners don't even know what a structured product is, as you know, because you probably talk to people every single day. But we were one of the people that actually did it on the commission side. That being said, and I'll name the insurance company name, but, we did a variable annuity company that had a free flow. You can pick any of their 130 different funds, inside their portfolio and manage it. The only problem is it came with a 7-year surrender period, right? Still a great product. It had unlimited growth, right? You had a company that gave a guaranteed stream of income, and that death benefit was protected. Whatever they put in, they were to get back as long as that account value, I think it didn't fall below, we'll call it, $3,000. Well, in your world, we have that same product. The fees are, cut down by, I think, 1.5%, and it's fully liquid.
Day one.
So, I mean, if I had this product, think back 1998, how many clients I've seen over the years, and they go, man, I love this product. The only thing I don't love about it is 7 years. I don't know. I mean, I'm 72 years old. I might be dead in 7 years. And I go, well, you're still protecting. Yeah, the 7 year it just gets me. Now the conversation changes. Oh yeah, 7 years is a long time. Well, let me show you a product that we have that's fully liquid. People, when you say that the word annuity and fully liquid, it doesn't compute because they go, especially in my world in Florida, we have a lot of transplants from up north, a lot of retirees that come to Florida to retire. They have gone to workshops where all people say is, this is a great product. This sounds so good. And then they show you the bells and whistles and they go, oh, how long is the surrender charge? Or how long is the surrender period? Oh, it's 10 years. What's the surrender charge? Oh, it's 14%. That's a hard pill to swallow for somebody that knows that they might only live for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
To say this product's fully liquid, that's a new concept for people.
Yeah. Yeah, because as we all know, and I'm sure you know from your experience as an advisor, that plans change. And sometimes we need to be able to have the flexibility to get in and get out. And that's what we have now.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you just want to mention that we didn't hit on today or discuss?
Yeah, no, other than just recapping what I said before, I think that people that put their clients first, and especially people that came from the broker-dealer world, and I would even say people that had never written annuities before. And I've gotten in conversations with accountants. They go, annuities are the worst investment that's ever been made. And I said, well, why do you say that? I sit down and I see my clients that come in. They've had products for 8 years, never made a dime on it. 8 years, made 2% a year. And it is an education process. But when you take somebody that puts their clients first, I don't see how they don't implement products like this into their portfolio for some of their clients.
Right.
Because it just truly helps somebody. And I'll close with this. I had a client. She was in an investment and it was going to go public. It went public. And she said, what should I do? I'm scared of the stock market. And I said, I really think this product's going to do good in the secondary market. So sure enough, within a week, it was up 30%. It had a little bit of a pullback. It went from, $10 to $13, $13 to like $12.30. And she called me up and was screaming at me. I lost all this money. Let me look, what's going on? Oh no, I said, you're still up over 20%. She goes, no, but from last week, I'm down. It taught me a very valuable lesson that everyone is different. She was an older client, lived through the Depression, and she basically did not have the risk tolerance for the stock market. Products like this allow somebody to participate with guarantees and eliminate 99% of the negative aspect of, we called it the A word back in the day, the annuity. So a lot of people had negative connotations when it came to this. But I mean, the products that you offer are just so good that it almost is hard to believe that more people aren't using it. I hope they don't, because it creates a competitive advantage for me. It really does.
Right.
But I think, good products over time, people will realize, it'll rise to the top.
Yeah.
So that's all I really have to say about that.
Yeah. The more clients figure out about it and bring it to the attention of their advisors, the more.
Or their friends.
Yeah.
That's even better. Oh, I have a product that, is 19% cap. What?
Yeah.
My cap is 3%.
It has been for 12 years.
And then they call their advisor, hey, what the hell?
Exactly. More clients go to Hobby. That's the plan.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So, Hobby, just want to, appreciate the time today. Thank you for coming on to our Advisor Revelations podcast.
Yeah, you too, Scott.
Always a pleasure to talk with you. Appreciate the insight. It was very helpful and very eye-opening. So all of our listeners out there, just want to remind you to subscribe on our website and feel free to sign up to listen to more podcasts in the future. Website is dplfp.com. Feel free to look around on our team page or any other white papers or education pieces that we have out there. Otherwise, thank you guys and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Hobby.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks for listening. To hear more Advisor Revelations, go to dplfp.com and subscribe on your favorite podcast streaming app.